tournament is not a family vacation, no matter how hard you want it to be. It is not, because it is all about the
That
one
kid.
child.
Yeah, it's all about that
That's
one
it.
kid.
From latchkey kids to helicopter parents, join us for a generational showdown. This is You Turned Out Okay with Mrs. B.
Remember when youth sports meant orange slices, carpool chaos, and maybe one tournament a year if you were lucky? When our parents sat on the sidelines in folding chairs instead of screaming from the bleachers with branded team tents? I'm Mrs. B, and this is You Turned Out Okay, the podcast where we look at how things have changed, how we've changed, and how somehow we still all turn out okay. Today, we're talking about youth sports, the money, the time, the pressure, and the dream of that elusive college scholarship. Why has what used to be a Saturday morning pastime turned into a year-round commitment? And what does that mean for kids, for families today? We'll dig into it all, from the backyard games of the 80s and 90s to the big business culture of youth sports now. So grab your cowbell and your favorite sports drink, and let's get into it. So today, I would like to introduce my two guests, my baby sister, Karen. She has a daughter who recently committed to play Division I field hockey, and my friend slash neighbor slash old babysitter, Palin. Honestly, Palin, that introduction made me realize how many chapters of your life I have seen you
So
through.
many.
Palin is the mother of, wait for it, 4 children under the age of 13. And she has a daughter who's just really getting into that competitive youth sports arena. So when we were growing up, youth sports meant, carpooling in a station wagon, orange slices at halftime, jugs of water, filled from the hose, and maybe one tournament a season, if that. And today, it's a year-round commitment that costs thousands of dollars. It could feel like a job more than a game. So we're going to talk about kind of what happened. So, Karen, I'm going to start with you because, we're more the similar age than Palin. Palin's a little younger than both of us. So when you think back to your time in youth sports in the 80s, what do you remember most? And just to say, Karen played Division I field hockey, just like her daughter's going to at Syracuse back in the day. So you were what would be considered now a very competitive, accomplished athlete. So tell us what it was like in the 80s.
Well, in the 80s, it was, given the sport that we played as well, and where we grew up in Pennsylvania, I'm sure other parts of the country that had soccer and lacrosse had club. There was no club when we were kids. Your sport was in season, and it was with your middle school or your high school team. And I feel like the only possibility of a scholarship or having a collegiate career was what we called the All-Star games, which I'm sure schools still have. I know that my daughter's school does. So you would go, they would pick, a bunch of kids from different teams, different areas, and you would play. And the college coaches would come and watch you once and only once. There was no film, there was no tournaments, there was none of that. And that, and honestly, my fondest memories are of me playing sport with my high school teammates.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember.
Yeah, it's interesting now. And I often wonder when we talk about the high school sports aspect, having had a son who played lacrosse in college, I felt like for a lot of these kids, the focus was on where they were going to go next, how they performed at club, and not so much about their high school team. And I think that's something that might have changed over the past couple decades, so to speak.
It most certainly has. I'm sure state by state you have your teams at your high schools that are just the powerhouse team that that they are ranked, number 1, 2, or 3 in your state every season. Obviously those kids are getting looked at as well, but those kids for the most part are also playing club, and they're playing club with their high school teammates as well. So these kids play together 365 days a year, whether it's on their high school field or on, their club home field or at a tournament. So there is certainly advantages for that for sure. And depending on the sport, 100%.
Yeah.
If it's track, if If it's golf, if it's, swimming, those are all number space. That's very black and white. You could be on a really horrific team as long as you're putting up the numbers, you're going to get looked at.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, Karen, and then we're going to jump over to Palin. Well, growing up, when you were 14, 15 years old playing, what was the intensity you felt? Did you feel that need to get a college scholarship? Did you want to take it to the next level? Did you care?
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. I mean, it was fun. There was a little bit of a nudge from the parents to once they realized that that was something, and it wasn't necessarily for a scholarship, other than it was the opportunity to go to a specific university that perhaps you wouldn't have thought of or had that opportunity had you not played sport.
Right.
So that
Right.
was really it.
What about your teammates? Was there a big rush, or was it they were just excited for the Friday night game?
I mean, again, it was fun. It was fun. And today it is still fun for a lot of kids. And I feel like, and my recommendation to anyone who plays any type of sport, that is when it stops being fun, you need to stop playing.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Yeah. So Palin, let's switch over to you because I know you've got an emerging athlete.
Yes.
Tell me, your athletic experience as a kid and a teenager versus what your daughter's experiencing right now.
So for me as a kid, like I just played on rec. It wasn't intense. It wasn't anything. You mentioned orange slices; those have gone to the wayside. I've like literally had these conversations with parents on the sidelines. I'm like, why do we have to dread the snack? Like when the Max game finishes at 9:45 and they're handed like sugar and it's just like there's no oranges in the middle of the game. And I remember I actually loved sitting and having my orange slices. And I remember when Hannah was a baby and
Right.
talking to some kids. I think it was like your boys, and we were talking about sports, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like you have to start committing yourself to colleges at like sophomore, junior year." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? Like,
Mhm.
Right.
what do you mean by that?" And it's like,
Right.
if you're not like the it player by your sophomore year of high school, then you
Right.
aren't really going to be looked at. And Hannah started when we moved here. We knew she had some athleticism in her since she was like a little baby. Like she would hang and pull herself up on chin up bars and everything. So then when we moved to Maryland, Kevin played lacrosse at Navy. So let's get her into lacrosse. So I mean, it was just like one day a week after preschool, and then I started to see like just the intensity as the years have gone by. It wasn't even like super intense in the beginning, but then I realized as like she's gotten older how intense it really is.
Right.
She's one of those kids that you put something in her hand and she's going to learn how to play it and she's going to be good at it. And
But I think what's interesting about this is it starts so young,
Young.
right? It
Right.
starts so young with having to be accomplished,
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, Karen, I don't think you put a field hockey stick in your hand till you were what, 7th or 8th grade?
Yeah, probably sixth. I think we had it like sixth, seventh, eighth. Yeah, and even with my daughter, she did have a field hockey stick in her hand probably in second or third grade, but then she decided she wanted to play soccer, so we hung up the field hockey stick and she played soccer for a couple
Right.
years, and then come sixth grade, she's like, I think I want to go back to field hockey. So I mean, obviously she's very athletic, and I think that like you said with Hannah, like that makes a difference. There are people who play sports who are athletes and they may just choose one sport, but they're still athletic. You put anything in there, a ball, a stick, whatever, and they'll be able to have fun and enjoy doing it because they're good at it.
Right.
So, and I think that makes a difference too. These 8, 9 year olds doing travel, this, that, and the other tournaments every weekend.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a lot. So, it's funny. I want to go back, Palin, to what you said about snacks because I had a moment and you two may get there at some point. I remember when Alex's freshman year playing lacrosse in college, and I was just so excited to just go and kind of be a spectator and not have to worry or think about anything, right? Because when they're younger, or it's tournaments or whatever you're going, and I'll never forget that first game when one of the parents of the older men on the team came up and said, well, we have to talk about, schedule for tailgates and food and all that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. I am still doing snacks. It has been
Yeah.
16 years of doing snacks.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks different now, but we're still doing snacks.
Those snacks. I mean, I will say Hannah's team, they they're often like, why aren't we getting snacks anymore? Y'all are old enough to figure it out. Like, just put a snack in your bag. You're fine. Like,
All right, Karen. So they have snacks in high school, or parents bringing snacks after the high school
Oh,
game?
they do. They do. They have a whole little sign up, and the girls get snacks. And if we have lots, we give them some to the other team. Their bus ride home. So and they do look. They look forward to them. And luckily, because I coach the JV team, don't have to worry about organizing any of these snacks. And with club parents, the snacks really with club is more in the summertime, like when it's hot out. So they'll
Yeah.
like if it's a tournament, like someone will bring watermelon or orange slices, like those kids still love that, and at least they're a little bit more nutritious. Because now at the age they're on, that's a little bit more the focus with the coach is like, you know what? No donuts. Like that's not a good snack. You know what I
No,
mean? Fruit,
it's true.
fruit,
right.
granola bars, stuff like that. So that's also a conversation with, watching their diet, what their nutrition is, how they're going to perform in the next game if they have 2 cookies and, a Coke and a bag of chips. Not
Right.
happening.
Well, and some of it, all of this that we talk about is always about how the world has changed. We know more, things are different, right? So, when we have these conversations and we talk about the good old days, the world's not the same as it was in the good old days. Things have changed, right? So, what we're trying to do, though, is take the good parts of the good old days and try to figure out how to incorporate them into what's happening now. And, then also kind of have that conversation with the parents and grandparents who only know the good old days and try to, bridge that gap as to how we can relate what's happening today with what happened, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So talk to me about sports and family time. Like, how has youth sports kind of cut into family time? So Palin, why don't you kick us off with that one?
Well, so my parents' heads are like consistently spinning because they like
Right.
over how much we are on the go and like going to practice. And they're like, why does Hannah need to swim that much? And I'm like, well, she's trained. So she's capable of doing that. She was playing field hockey, she was playing lacrosse, and she was swimming. And then we added year round swim. And then people were already talking in like 4th grade about like focusing on one sport. And I was like,
Right.
no, we're not going to just focus on one sport. We're a firm believer that multi-sports kids need that.
Right.
They need to be with other teams. They need to learn. Each sport can bring something out into another sport. Like swimming helps with breathing in the other sports, and but like swimming's intense. And because Hannah has grown so much in swim, she's was put onto the age group 1 team, which shows that you are talented and you are um, going places,
Right.
and I mean, there's always room to grow for anybody, like when they're still young. But she has practices 6 days a week, 6 days a week.
Right.
And you've had to, Kevin and I've had to say, listen, like she's not going to be here 6 days a week. Like, and there's going to be a time or two that she's not. She's the oldest of 4 kids. We're an active duty military family. Kevin and I've always been so like something we said from before we even had kids is like family dinners were important to us. We want to have family dinners. We have to find ways to incorporate family breakfast or family lunch, like because right now there hasn't been one day that we have been able like there's kids coming and going starting at 4:30 in the afternoon, and we're high-fiving each other like I'm taking this one, he's taking that one, I have the littlest one, he's got the next one, I have somebody picking up the other one for dance because Avery's a year-round dancer. So and it's hard, it is very, very hard. And
Yeah.
I don't love that about it. I really I struggle with this very much. We've kind of had a forced break with with swim because she got pretty sick and she wasn't able to swim for the last 6 weeks. And I've looked at her and I'm like, "Do you miss it?" And she's like, "I miss it. I
Okay.
couldn't wait to go back. And
Yeah.
then the day that she went back on Monday, she walked in and all of the other swimmers were like they were like, Hannah, and they were so
Uh,
excited. And I knew right then that she had another family to be with. You know what I mean? It was like
right.
her
Right.
swim family. But like it's still like we have our family and it's hard to have to like break away from that with four
Right.
kids. You know what I mean?
Right. And
So,
Karen, you've got older kids, and Cody's been doing this a long time too. How do you guys manage kind of the family time?
Well, in all honesty, Cody didn't start club until she was 13. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't start travel and all that craziness until she was well into the middle school. Prior to that, it was all community based, rec soccer, and which I coached and was on the board. So I was involved in that. So the kids were always with me doing that at the same time. So that made it a little bit easier. So the sports schedule was our schedule, not just hers or his.
Right.
So that certainly helped, me just being volunteering, getting involved in what their lives were doing as and of them and their friends, just to benefit the community as a whole. So I think that was important. And like again, with the club thing, we joined a club. Yes, it was 45 minutes from our house. It was only 2 days a week, but we joined it collectively with other parents. So the carpool was huge. It takes a village, who's driving this day, who's picking up, who's staying. So, I mean, I was very blessed, as were the other parents, to have that pool of parents and families to pull off of, like, oh, I can't drive this week because my son has a football practice, my son has a football game. Well, I can. And the family time probably, we try as hard as we can, even if one of them is absent, to still have to maintain some type of family time, even if one's at practice or one's at a game or one's at a tournament. Tournaments, obviously, we try to go. Sometimes we found that it was easier to travel just a single parent with the kid at the tournament as opposed to making it a vacation, because a tournament is not a family vacation, no matter how hard you want it to be. It is not, because it is all about the one
That
child.
Yeah, it's all about that
That's
one
it.
kid.
That's it. So you have to plan vacations, or for sure have to be planned separately from tournaments. Just to sound advice to anybody out there thinking of diving into this, it
that's so
cannot be the
true.
same thing.
That's so
That's
true.
so
Cannot.
true. All right, so let's talk about the other kind of big elephant in the room, the cost.
Oh,
Because these days, youth sports can look like a luxury. I used to say that football was the great equalizer in a community. It was the one sport where everybody, boys, could participate, right? From all neighborhoods, it didn't matter, all socioeconomic. Football was kind of that big equalizer in high school. Now, even football has all their specialty camps and their specialty positioning training and private coaching and all of that. But this whole youth sports club world can get very, very expensive.
Mm,
So,
very.
yeah, how do you guys figure that one out?
I mean, you budget for it. Obviously, I mean, once you start, indoor season's a certain amount of money, spring season's a certain amount of money, then how much the tournament fees, how much are the hotel rooms. Could we have gone to more tournaments for recruiting purposes? Absolutely. But you know what? Maybe we don't go to 5. Maybe we pick 2 or 3 or 1, depending. Maybe we don't fly to Florida, maybe we drive to Virginia instead. You have to balance that out. I mean, and as far as that is for recruiting tournaments, versus just a regular tournament to go to, if you're thinking you want to do this collegiately, you have to go where you most bang for your buck. The bottom line is, you reach out to the coaches. Are they going to be there? Are the 5 schools I'm interested in? If the coaches aren't going to be there, then we're not going. Then you say, I'm sorry, because there's lots of other kids in the club who want that opportunity. They get to go.
So Palin, let me ask you. I mean, you are just kind of, you're in it, but you're a couple years behind where Karen is. Do your friends and do other parents kind of feel that pressure to keep up with their kids' sports careers by investing money and time? Is that something that you and your, friends talk about, other parents?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's feeling it right now. And because like we didn't really grow up with this intensity of what it
Right.
is today,
Mm-hmm.
but yet parents are thriving on it. And you have parents today that are just like, it's look at my kid, my kid, my kid, my kid, and it's like, yeah, I'm so proud of my kid. But I also, I'm trying to find like a balance, and I'm trying to keep like, we chose not to put her in the lacrosse club team, and she's been playing rec. And now all of these club players are still playing rec. And that's been what I think a little bit of a problem, because like you have kids who are trying, like even in fifth grade, still just trying to try the sport. And then they go to try the sport, but then it's just a lot of club players on the team. And then they just
It's
focus.
discouraging.
So then you have these girls who are never even touched a stick before, who genuinely just wanted to see if they were interested and could learn the sport, who will never touch that stick again now because they just were so discouraged because it was so intense given the really good players. I mean, these club players are phenomenal. Like there's you know, training, training, they train, they are working on. And I said to Hannah, I was like, if you want to still play lacrosse going forward, you have to get out there and you have to do more. And you have to put yourself like on that bounce back. You've got to be out there. You've got to be like every day trying something. I'm like, because if not, then you're just going to get walked all over.
It's like, we're creating superstars, right? And then we've got another level of kids who just want to play. And, how do we make those teams great teams, right? So let me ask another question. How do other families or other people who might have been kind of in your same situation with their child, if the college scholarship doesn't pay off like it did for Cody, but
Mhm.
and now's when it all kind of shakes out, right? You're either committing or you're not. So what happens to those kids that don't?
Right. With this Cody as a fall sports, June 15th of her sophomore year is when the Division 1 schools can reach out to you. Division 3 schools can reach out to you at any given point in time prior to that if they want to. So, and we went through it because we went through it with kids that she plays high school with and kids that she plays club with. But as that date approaches and the phone calls, either emails either come or don't come, then reality starts to hit a little bit, thinking that maybe those schools that I was interested in, maybe they're a little bit of a reach for me. Now, you join a club for a couple reasons. One, for the training and the expertise of the coaches at that club. And hopefully for the honesty for the coaches at that club to steer you in the right direction. Like, yeah, you know what? Your kid's Division 1 material, maybe not top 10 or top 20 or top 30, but it's reality. So you kind of you see the writing on the wall, and the parents need to honor that. Like you can't still be thinking into your junior year, if no Division 1 schools have reached out to you, that you're going D1 and you're going to get a scholarship. Those things happen within the first month to 2 months to 3 months. I mean, they reach out to you right away. It's when you decide when you want to respond. The parents still need to take responsibility for their kids, their future. They're not old enough. They're still babies. They're 15, 16 years old. They need
Right.
guidance and they need a reality check. But you also know if your kid's winning states and getting gold medals, there's a talent there. There's something to be cultivated. And as long as they still love doing it and they love their coaches, then they should still do it. It's
Yeah.
the burnout that happens when you start super young sometimes. So it's exciting to hear Hannah was like, oh my God. After 6 months, she was like, oh, I don't want to go back. I really enjoy my time not swimming. The fact that she wanted to go back, she loves it. It's what she loves to do.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I always said that with the boys, no matter what it was, whether if it was an instrument or whether it was sports, you have to love it and be good at it, right? But you got to love it. But Karen, you brought up a good point with that race for the college scholarships, and to your point, not understanding how small of a group that actually get there. And then all of these clubs have kind of come out of the woodwork charging money with the idea that will get you there. And you have to be very careful, I guess, at your point where you invest your time and your money.
Yes, and you can still go to college, to Division 1 college and play. You may not get money. Like only 57% of Division 1 athletes have some financial aid or get money athletically. Some
Right.
of it's, I'm sure, academic, and some of it they get none. It's like, yeah,
Right.
you want to play for us, you can play for us, but I can't offer you anything. Like we got those phone calls too. Like I
Right.
can't offer you anything, but we'd love to have you on the team.
I mean, that's happening
you
in
know?
schools. That's happening in like private high schools around here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that if somebody from like my friend is a coach at a private school and she's like, I mean, I want them and I have a little bit I can give, but like in the beginning when they were trying to get Hannah, they were like, well, it costs whatever X amount for lacrosse. But she'll probably get a scholarship in college. And I'm like, that is not a guarantee.
That is right. But
not,
that is always how the parents will justify it.
yeah.
Like we had a parent say to us one time that she had she had 3 girls and 2 of them were doing club and this, that, and the other. And soccer is way more expensive than field hockey, which kind of floored me just because we actually have more equipment that we have to purchase for individually for them to be able to participate in the sport. But I guess between whether it's the club fees or the tournament fees or whatever it is, like when I found out how much money they were actually spending annually on soccer, I was floored. It was double of what we spend, like double. And their thought process was, oh well, they're going to get a scholarship, so we're gonna not going to have to spend that money to send them to college.
I went to one meet where then they charged us to go in and watch our kids swim. And
Oh yeah, those are the best.
and I'm like, I can't even with this.
You know what's so funny about this conversation? I think every parent who has a kid in a club sport, we've got swimming, field hockey, we got lacrosse, it's like we all think we pay the most. And
no,
obviously,
ice hockey's the most.
Ice
hockey and equestrian. So there's that. You have to think about that.
I mean, it's like you got to follow the money here. There's a lot of money in this, right?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of money in this, and which is why most of the kids that are doing club come from a specific socioeconomic background. It's not everybody.
Right. Right. And that's kind of gets back to my point about how football used to be the great equalizer. And now even that has the specialty training to it. And to me, my final question is going to be, what can we bring from like youth lessons, like from the 80s and 90s and Palin U, the early 2000s of playing sports? And what's the one lesson that we can bring to today's kind of youth sports world? And for me, it's about sports was always about you were with a team and you were with a group that might not have been in your neighborhood or might not have been in your socioeconomic or might have been people of a different color or ethnicity or culture than yours. And it was kind of that great melting pot of bringing everyone together when youth sports was easily accessible by everyone. So for me, I think that's the one thing I want to make sure that our kids are still exposed to that. And I can tell you for the most part in lacrosse, that wasn't the case, right? It was not at all in that type of sport.
No.
And, that's the one thing when I think about kind of what we talk about on the podcast and those lessons and those experiences that we had as Gen Xers and older millennials, what's that one thing that I would love to make sure that we continue seeing in youth sports? And it's that. Because that's how connections are made. That's how conversations happen. That's how you learn about people that are different than you.
No, I agree. And in order for that to happen, you need to keep, in our area, those rec programs alive. Those kids, the parents who volunteer to coach. We need more volunteers, probably less parents, in all honesty. They need to stay out of it. Some of the things you see on the news with these parents and these referees and just it's craziness. But I feel like it takes a village, and you need those volunteers. You need those community-based sports programs to bring everybody together so the kids can just have fun. And the parents are just there to support. They're not there to yell at the refs, especially when the refs are teenagers, just doing it,
Right.
for National Honor Society hours.
Right.
We can't be berating those kids. And I don't know. I want to say less parent involvement, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But when it comes to something like that, you just need to let the kids be kids and let them figure it out on their own and let them play and let them have fun. And just, if you're going to be there, just cheer for everybody.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love it.
And don't worry about your kids' playing time. As long as they're out there having fun, they could be picking daisies. It doesn't matter. They're having fun.
I am absolutely the mom that's like losing my voice screaming for my kid on the sidelines because like I love seeing them thrive in the things that they love to do, and that they're
Right.
growing in. But I always just want that Do you love what you're doing? And I mean, but you're right. The parent involvement is critical. I want to be a part of it with them. Like, I mean, with swimming, we pay a lot, but we have to also volunteer. We have our certain amount of volunteer
Sure.
times. And I actually really like that because it keeps parents involved. It keeps us talking to one another. It keeps us being in a healthy spot, like timing or whatever we need to do. And, because if it wasn't for the village, then you wouldn't be able to have the team, right? Like, we
Right.
wouldn't be able to do all that. But yeah, I mean, swim is insanely expensive. And I mean, she turned 13 and I was like, oh my, I'm like, now we have 13 and up tech suits that cost $600. And you're only supposed to wear them like 2 times. And then it's like, oh, they're done now. I'm like,
What?
what? Yeah. Oh, they're insane.
At the end of the day, we want all our kids to learn, to grow, and to find something they love, right? And when all of this game stops being something they love, then we really need to think twice about what we're doing. But for right now, it sounds like you guys both have daughters who love what they do, But
And she's got a phenomenal coach who believes in them. And that's the other
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Coaches,
The coaching is huge. I mean, that's one of the reasons why kids quit sports to begin with.
yeah.
They loved it when they were younger. If they have a bad coach, a bad experience, pressure from their parents.
I mean, I think that's one of the things we talked through today, right? I mean, club is one thing. If you've got an athlete that loves it and they enjoy the competition, then the investment is there and the payoff is there, right? Whether it leads to a college scholarship or not. But the other thing that we talked about when we talk about the nostalgia of the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, it's the rec programs that will keep that love alive and keep those sports, that true sense of team for everyone in the community. And I think both are important. And we need to not lose sight that, we need both in this world, right? We need a place for the competitive athletes to compete, and we need rec for the kids that just want to get out there and have a great time. Yep.
Yeah.
And learn all the wonderful
100%.
lessons that can come with sports.
I
So-
do think it would be helpful if the club players that do join the rec team because they just want to have extra games or whatever it is, like, there should be some like, hey, if you want to play this, like bring some.
That's interesting. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah,
Rec is really truly just for the kids. Everyone gets equal playing time. It's all about having fun. Seeing somebody score their first goal for the season. It's an amazing feeling, for that kid who you thought would never do it. So that's interesting that is happening down there.
so that
Quite
your club
honestly,
teams don't do rec as well.
no.
All right, guys. Well, I think we could probably go on forever, but I am going to wrap this up here. Youth sports has always been about more than trophies. It's where we learn teamwork and resilience and how we learn to get back up when we get knocked down. And somewhere along the way, the stakes definitely got a lot higher and the bills got a lot bigger. But I think here's the thing, the lessons that matter most still then are the ones that matter now. It's the orange slices and the laughter and the friendships, and that's the real win. So I think this is just a good time to remind ourselves that it's not always about perfection, that it's about participation and about perspective. So I want to thank everybody out there for listening to You Turned Out Okay. If you liked this episode, share it with another parent, a coach, or a friend who could use a little nostalgia and a little perspective on the youth sports machine these days. And just a reminder that all our kids don't need to be stars to shine. And I'm Mrs. B, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.